Drugs should be legal, and nobody should be sentenced to 45 years for cocaine conspiracy. But that is the story of Michael Santos, Seattle's cocaine cowboy. Doomed Planet, episode 28.
I was 20 years old. I saw the movie Scarface. Totally changed my life. Before that, I kind of grew up in a middle-class lifestyle. My father's an immigrant from Cuba.
We are doing an episode based on a suggestion from one of our fans. And this is from Patrick. Michael Santos was my good friend Christina's older brother. We were freshmen in high school. He was a senior. I was in school with him for 1 year. He had a fiery aura about him and was cocksure, well-dressed, fit, and arrogant, and not as smart as he probably should have been to carry all his energy and bravado. I remember watching him one time in gym class working the parallel bars by doing dips, and he was impressively fit and wearing expensive Italian shoes, coiffed 80s style hair, and he emulated the GQ style that was in vogue in the early to mid 80s. Christina and Michael's family were of first-generation Cuban descent. They appeared to be wealthy. Her dad was in the construction business. Michael graduated and started working in his dad's business. A year or two later, he started showing up at school in cars like a brand new Porsche 911 convertible. And he had a business card that said Chameleon Cars International. So Michael Santos, he has that rock star aura, that shine, that quality, and he's one of those well-dressed, smooth-talking men. It seemed exotic to me, though there was a bit of douchey and shady vibe, says our contributor, Patrick. He rented a huge ballroom at the Four Seasons Hotel, and it was filled with the most coiffed and glamorous Seattle young people I had ever seen. Years later, I read about his arrest as a young cocaine kingpin. He idolized Tony Montana from Scarface.
Say hello to my little friend!
And he even moved to Miami to be closer to the cocaine action, acquiring a cigarette racing boat and a condo in Key Biscayne, just like all the good coke dealers do, until he was, of course, busted for coke. He became a poster boy example of the overzealous drug prosecution in the 80s and mass incarceration. Okay, this is in Michael's own words, and there's going to be a lot of those words because he's a prolific writer and publisher and blogger, and he was publishing stuff to YouTube as of May 22nd, which would be very recently. I have been incarcerated in various institutions within the Federal Bureau of Prisons since August of 1987. Since my confinement began, I have followed a consistent path to atone for the illegal and wrong acts I committed as I was making the transition from a spoiled adolescence into adulthood. So this sounds like the kind of letter that you would send the parole board, like an ass-kissy letter full of lies about, drug dealing is so bad and I'm sorry. I pray these things will help make me a better man, realizing goals. He sounds like a motivational speaker, and that is going to come back because right now he is a motivational speaker, but also involved in a real estate scam. We'll get to that after discussing his life. And if you're in prison, well, what's there to discuss? So you just say, he's in prison for this period to this period, and then you move on. But no, he's a prolific publisher and activist while he's in prison. Personal history. Let me be clear from the beginning that I am a person who deserved a prison sentence, and that I accept full responsibility for my actions and early mistakes. As far as my prison record is concerned, this is my first offense. But in order to be fair with you, I will bring to your attention a situation in which I became involved when I was 17 years old. So apparently he bought a stereo from some dude when he was in the 11th grade when they were at Shorecrest High School in Seattle. They were betting on Sonic's basketball games. So he's winning these bets and his friend couldn't pay him with cash. So he said, how about this stereo? Well, it turns out the stereo was stolen, and this friend was an idiot, and he was got in trouble for something else, and the cops made him list every crime and accomplice, and so Michael Santos got popped for receiving stolen property. But then he became involved in the distribution of cocaine in 1985. Like most people in the United States, it hit everywhere, every city, every town, every company, every institution. And a lot of people got away with being dealers and became rich and then went into legitimate businesses, marketing bottled water and stuff and laundering their money. Michael wasn't so lucky. A close friend of mine, who I will call Alex, was involved in the distribution of small amounts of cocaine. Because of my position in my family's firm, I had access to large sums of money. So he used some of that money without his parents' knowledge to join a scheme financing a large cocaine purchase. They purchased 3 kilos. The transaction lasted about 12 hours. Again, drug dealing 101 is you're never in possession of the product. You pick it up from your hookup and you get rid of it right away. You're not sitting around for weeks with it. After replacing the money I had inappropriately taken from my family's firm, Alex and I split a profit of $40,000. So that is quite a scheme to make that much money in one day. Suddenly you're hooked. You're hooked to the adrenaline of that and also to the easy money. But again, Michael, there's no such thing as easy money. We are reading from an early blog post sent from prison by Michael. This is in his own words, his life story. So they're doing some coke dealing, and in a futile effort to limit our exposure, we began hiring other people to work for us, paying them to store and transport the cocaine we were purchasing. Drug dealing 101, Michael, limit your exposure. Eventually, I relocated to South Florida as I was in search of people who could sell cocaine to us at better prices. The scheme moved quickly, and by early 1986, I was living permanently in Key Biscayne, buying cocaine from a source I met in Miami. Using another friend who I knew from high school to transport that cocaine to Seattle so that Alex could oversee its local distribution. The scheme progressed in that manner until June 20th, 1986, when DEA agents arrested Alex. When the federal agents put handcuffs on his wrists and seized the kilo of cocaine he was carrying at the time, he realized he was in big trouble. That is when he began cooperating. So he's going to drop a dime on Michael for a lenient sentence and become a snitch, which is second only to child rapist. If you ever end up back in prison, that's the second worst thing you could be. So then Alex is giving the feds all the info, and he agrees to testify against Michael Santos. He receives 4 years, for which he served 27 months. Michael did not know that Alex was cooperating with the government, and so he's meeting with them several times. Conspiracy, as they say. If you're planning on committing a crime, that is a crime in itself. Orwell might call that a thought crime. Santos says that when he was arrested, he had been involved in importing about 150 kilos of coke, millions of dollars worth. All the money I did not spend before my arrest was wrongfully used for my legal defense or absconded with by people associated with me. So, too young to be good with money, too young to be laundering that money, setting some aside, especially protecting it from the feds who want to take everything and seize all your assets. Oh, Michael, you idiot. While I was in jail, some of the people who distributed cocaine for me were together with me. They told me of several kilograms of cocaine that remained in one of the storage areas. That cocaine represented tens of thousands of dollars, and I agreed to let one of the people who worked with me retrieve that cocaine and distribute it to some of the people who were involved with us in Seattle. That was yet another bad decision. For the people who became involved in that transaction were already under investigation too. Although it was the same cocaine that was involved in the original indictment, along with the same participants, the government issued a second indictment for that offense rather than superseding the initial one. During the trial, oh idiot, I took the witness stand to testify in my own defense. Oh, Michael. I chose to lie before the court and jury, testifying that I had nothing to do with the charges lodged against me. My attorney and I even rehearsed my testimony the day before during a conference at the jail. Clearly, the members of the jury did not believe me, for they convicted me on every count in that indictment. It was not until after that conviction that I began to realize the extent of my wrongdoing. The above account is only a synopsis of my involvement in the distribution of cocaine. I did not discuss every transaction, for if I did, this account would be too long for this document. What I did do is let you know the essential details of my criminal behavior. Distributing 150 kilos overall of cocaine, I earned a significant amount of money. Much of the money I earned was wasted, although I did invest a considerable amount of money in real estate, all of which eventually was taken by my defense attorney. Did his defense attorney criminally seize his property and more property than would have been needed to pay for his defense? I realize that many readers have little exposure to people who have been sentenced to prison. It may be helpful for me to provide a sense of proportion, a description of what lengths of time other people are serving in prison. Through the Bureau of Justice and Statistics, I have found the average lengths of time people convicted of the following crimes serve. Murderers serve average sentences of 8 years, rapists 5 years, armed robbers less than 4 years, drug traffickers serve average sentences of 1 year, 9 months, and the average time that all federal prisoners serve is 2 years and 1 month. And again, if you're trapped in our carceral state, you want to be in a federal prison, not a state prison that could actually be right now a death sentence. And we'll get to the person that we know through a degree of separation who died in prison just a few days ago at the end of this show. According to Michael Santos, following my convictions, I was sentenced to a cumulative total of 45 years in federal prison. The nature of my sentence leaves me no possibility for parole. I'm also sentenced to pay $500,000 fine. Earning freedom. When I began serving my sentence in 1987, I had a limited education. I realized in order to overcome the obstacles that my poor decisions had placed before me, I would need to develop my mind and earn academic credentials that people in society would recognize, accept, and respect. Okay, so he completes his undergraduate education when he's a prisoner at Atlanta, earning a BA from Mercer University, graduate studies at Hofstra. He's working on a program that will lead to a PhD in political science. He has a clean disciplinary record. Some people may take the view that a lawbreaker deserves whatever sentence he or she receives and should complete every day of that sentence. One problem with that position, I think, is that a huge discrepancy exists between sentences. Yeah, so conclusion. I am as prepared today as I ever will be to be released from prison and begin living my life as a contributing and tax-paying citizen. I am now 39 and I have earned an undergraduate and graduate degree. So, yeah, Michael, Cocaine Cowboy, we'll be right back.
Go ahead, think I'm fucking gonna. You think I'm coming with better? Go ahead, you fucking gonna. Go ahead.
It's from Stuart Eskenazi, longtime Seattle Times writer. An inside job. He owned a pair of oceanfront lots in Cancun and a cigarette boat he christened the Outlaw. His dreams shaken by nightmares of being chased by law enforcement. He acquired those properties, including a Mercedes, from a drug smuggler. And he was arrested at his Miami penthouse condo, just right out of the movies, and convicted when he was 24 years old. His wife, a fellow Shorecrest High School classmate that he wed in prison in 2003, maintains the website michaelsantos.net. If you go to that now, it jumps to michaelsantos.com, motivational speaker and real estate scam guru. Santos reports quarterly on his progress toward redemption on the website. He'll be eligible for parole in August 2013 when he is 49. Eskenazi says Santos looks good for a 42-year-old. He runs 8 to 12 miles 2 or 3 days a week, carries earplugs in his pocket to drown out the defeatist drone of prison life. Federal probation officer Sam Torres says, "You have to be very careful with prisoner-written books. They tend to have an axe to grind and amplify the negative. I know the convict mentality, the BS prisoners can throw out for their own interests. Michael Santos is bright, talented, and wanting to help. My sense is the guy is as genuine can be." So Sam Torres might want to listen to this podcast. Santos has served more prison time than many pedophiles, rapists, and murderers. Oh, God, Carol Santos, you got the wife on the outside. That's always going to be an interesting person. She now lives with her teenage daughter in a tiny $1,000 a month apartment in downtown Santa Barbara. So, yeah, you imagine her teenage daughter is thrilled to have this guy get out of prison and come live with them in their tiny apartment. Yeah, who wouldn't want an ex-con and sort of sociopath to come do that? This is amazing. Julie Santos, Michael's older sister, secured a $20,000 grant from King County and DARE to help get her brother's first book published. I guess this was before print on demand, when if you wanted to publish a vanity thing, you had to shell out big bucks. It was printed for free at the family business of one of Santos's co-defendants, a Shorecrest friend who got arrested with a kilo of cocaine in the trunk of his Porsche and then testified against Santos as part of a plea bargain. So I was like, sorry I dropped a dime on you and ruined your life, but here we're going to kick a couple $100 worth of free printing over if you pay us $20,000, and it's all good. I'm a stand-up guy still and a snitch. Thank you, Stuart Eskenazi, for this story. While others in the cocaine ring made deals with the government, Santos brought in a Miami attorney with shiny hair, shiny shoes, and a shiny suit, who had represented the Trafficante mobster family and was a member of Patty Hearst's defense team with F. Lee Bailey. Santos says the lawyer told him he could beat the rap, and Santos was just conceited enough to believe him. The defendant, who likened himself to Scarface, was acting as if he was on Miami Vice. The Miami and the cocaine cliches. And again, now we know where any of Santos's drug money went. I think it would cost you $1 million to try to get out of these very serious charges. And then you hire the fanciest attorney you can and he fucks you. He doesn't care. He's not going to be sentenced. He wants to take this gamble. So Michael's big book is called Inside. He claims he had a literary agent and that people were interested in the TV and film rights, and that he's going to go on Oprah. Federal law prohibits him from profiting off of his crimes. He has gotten around the rule by giving the manuscript to his sister, who now owns it. I do not want to do a 5-hour episode about this guy. We're already running over. He's a prison consultant now. He's an author of several books about prison and a professor of criminal justice and an advocate for criminal justice reform. He spent 26 years inside 19 different prisons. San Francisco Chronicle, Saturday, November 24th, 2012. Inmate shares prison survival strategies. At this point, he is living in a halfway house, and his book, Inside, Life Behind Bars in America has gotten some traction. He's been in prison for more than 8,000 days. And believe it or not, Inside is published by St. Martin's Press, and it's gone through 7 printings at this point. So his sister, apparently, that owns the rights, is making the bank from this. I wonder if Ted Bundy wrote a book and then signed the rights over to a relative, if that relative could collect the proceeds if the book took off and was a success. Santos went from 10 minutes a day on a prison payphone to having an iPhone in his hands. He'd never seen one before. He hadn't touched a steering wheel since 1987, or eaten with a metal fork, or taken a shower without shower shoes. And for the millionth time, drugs should be legal, and this guy should not have served any prison time at all, or maybe he should have done public service or something like that, helping build bridges or something. I don't know, but he gets out of prison, and then we have MichaelSantos.com. What's your story? Business and personal development. Michael Santos, writer, speaker, entrepreneur. And there's a photo of him speaking behind a big screen, and it looks like an audience of a few hundred people. And again, this carceral state of ours and the drug war, these concepts are evil. And the fact that Michael is, devoting some of his life, his post-prison life, to fighting these injustices is noble. But there's sort of the slick scam artist here happening. Now, anyone can write a book, and these days can also publish a book, but Michael's book, Inside, is a financial success. According to Publishers Weekly, although the dialogue is at times overwrought, the stories themselves are shocking and illuminating. And who doesn't love that life behind bars genre? Again, no one can fact check his book, so much of it is probably fiction, but that's as it should be. Santos rejects the idea that the correctional system does much correcting and provides repeated examples of the sense of hopelessness that inmates suffer during their sentences. Michael is always telling his story, and currently at michaelsantos.com there's a picture of him with his lovely wife, again the lady he met in high school that tracked him down when he was in prison. And he says, "I am 100% transparent and authentic. Throughout this website, you can read about my journey and determine whether I can bring value to your life or business." So that's like starting a sentence by saying, "Trust me," or, "I'm not lying here. Like, I am 100% transparent and authentic. Trust me, baby." Trust me, baby. Oh, God, I have an unusual but well-documented path from struggle to success. Click the boxes below to learn more about a journey that led me through 26 years in prison to a successful, law-abiding, contributing citizen. Read through all areas of my website for more validation. Ah, dear, and that's like early life, 1964 through 1987, prison years, halfway house, year 1 of liberty, year 5 of liberty, year 6 and 7 of liberty, 2018 to 2019, litigation with the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC initiated a lawsuit that would change my career and my life. They sued the developers behind the Sanctuary real estate project in Belize. Andres Puque, a friend that I met in prison, was the primary target of that lawsuit. And again, prison is just crime college. And if you're a racist Nazi in prison, you would spell that with 2 Ks. I've written a detailed description of that litigation. Okay, at this point, we want to go to external sources. So many books. Triumph, A Straight A Guide to Conquering Imprisonment by Michael Santos, 2013. This looks like a self-published book. And again, it's the same exact shit as Inside, his first book. And if you are a fan of writer Michael Santos, you are going to want Prison! Exclamation point. My 8,344th day. And that came out in 2011. And on Michael's website, I mean, is this guy got a screw loose or what? He's got it's the Belize investments page, and there's this big photo, an aerial shot of beautiful jungle that's been carved away, and it's just like empty lots and some boats docked there. And it says, attention, the FTC has launched a civil action against the reserve. I am no longer affiliated with the reserve. Here's a link to an article I wrote to provide more detail. I do not have any properties to sell. So again, Michael Santos, prison reform guy and former cocaine dealer, is mixed up with some of his prison buddies in this crazy real estate scheme that is problematic and illegal. But he's, instead of just eliminating that from his website, he goes into this lengthy defense. Any attorney would go, he has bad luck with attorneys, but any attorney would say, what are you doing? Take this shit down. Of course, there's a Wayback Machine. So publish and perish. It's always going to be there. I don't know if he gets that. If they had computer classes in prison. Does Michael get how YouTube works? Because here we just have December 2nd, 2018, testimonial with John and Lisa from South Carolina. And it's this middle-aged or elderly couple, and apparently buying some of the spot in the reserve in Belize.
Oh, watch this. I am here with Lisa and John. They are doing exactly what I want to do, preparing for life in paradise. They are from South Carolina. What brought you here to this extraordinary place? Tell us, Lisa.
How beautiful it is.
It's and
the island, the property, the toucan birds, the parrots, the wildlife.
And look at the beautiful homes that you can have here.
Yeah, check it out.
Amazing homes. And everybody's in love down here. You fall in love again and get younger. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And here's another testimonial. So be Caroline, who is an owner at the reserve.
Hi, I'm Caroline.
Caroline is here, and she is an owner in this extraordinarily beautiful community. We're at the Beach Club right now at the reserve.
It is
and tell us a
awesome.
little bit about what brought you to the reserve, Caroline.
Well, I came down here 5 years ago. I am 64 years old.
Exactly what I want to be. Go ahead.
And, we're from Denver, and it's just gotten so congested and so many people. Yes, it's a very beautiful state.
How can you not be happier with this paradise? Welcome to paradise.
And I'm not getting paid for this. Maybe I ought to charge them.
And I'm not getting paid either, but I want to pay to be here.
And you live the way the Lord meant us to live. Yes.
And that's what we're looking for. Thanks so much, Carolyn,
You're
for giving
welcome.
us this testimonial.
Oh, Michael, this is from biznow.com. Real estate scam swindled nearly 1,000 U.S. investors out of 100 million, FTC says. According to the FTC, a repeat con man named Andres Puque set up the scam. The alleged scheme took in more than 100 million, marketing lots in what was billed by Puque and his associates as a luxury development in Central America known by several names, including Sanctuary Belize and the Reserve. Investors paid $150K to $500K each. Instead of developing property in Belize, the defendants used the consumers' payments to fund their own high-end lifestyles. Little work was done on the actual development. The perpetrators of the scheme also advertised the property through infomercials. The following is a paid commercial program brought to you by Belize. The information and opinions expressed herein are solely those of Belize and are not the opinions of this station, its affiliates, management, or employees.
Do you dream of living in a tropical paradise, enjoying warm winters and active lifestyle? Are you looking for a second home or resort for family vacations? Maybe you're an investor looking for a prime real estate opportunity in an area with a history of significant appreciation. For nearly 2 decades, the country of Belize has become a prime location.
Do you want the good life? Living in paradise? Enjoying majestic sunsets, snorkeling coral reefs, taking romantic walks along pristine beaches? Stay tuned, because in the next half hour, we are going to show you how to own a piece of this Caribbean paradise.
Everyone loves the idea of owning a piece of paradise. Imagine if you could turn back the clock 60 years and you were given the opportunity to purchase land in Hawaii. Would you do it? What if the same opportunity was put in front of you today? Well, with Buy Belize, you have that opportunity. And with the development conceived with a master plan aimed for longevity and sustainability.
Awaiting you are countless memories and an investment opportunity of a lifetime. Visit buybelize.com now.
From Bloomberg, December 11th, 2019, Belize real estate scam defendant denied joint defense privilege. A defendant in an overseas real estate scam case who is representing himself, God, these guys aren't too fucking smart, has 10 days to hand over documents to the Federal Trade Commission after a federal district court ruled that none of his communications with two other defendants are privileged. Defendants Puke, Peter Baker, and Michael Santos are all representing themselves in a case brought by the FTC, which dubs it the largest overseas real estate investment scam it has ever targeted. There are a whole bunch of books about, oh, so you're going to prison? Here's what you need to know. And Michael is one of the kings of that genre. I also like Jim Hogshire's book, You're Going to Prison. Just sort of a tabloidy, exaggerated look at prison life. But Michael, you might want to be rereading some of your own books, because this sort of criminal activity is going to mean that you perhaps are going back to prison, especially with your prior record. And it seems that you are insincere. I mean, all this, just believe me, I'm credible. I worked hard in prison. And well, once a scam artist, always a scam artist. And we love our scam artists and our grifters, especially if no one ends up getting killed. It's a great story. Michael, you make for great material, and someone should do an unauthorized, not a movie, it's not worth a movie, an unauthorized 1 hour History Channel sort of reenactment could be really funny. Oh dear, this is from some stuff on U.S. District Court, District of Maryland. Michael Santos, individually and as an officer or owner of Global Property Alliance Incorporated, also known as Sanctuary Bay, Sanctuary Belize, The Reserve, Canatic, Laguna Palms, Bamboo Springs, Eco Future Development, Eco Future Belize, City River Wildlife Reserve by Belize. God, so if you met someone and they said, oh, I work at this company, and you were like, oh, well, I work at all 10 of these companies that are all the same thing and they're a scam. Trust me, baby. When Michael is back in prison, he should continue his podcast. It's called Earning Freedom with Michael Santos. He's an advocate, author, speaker, and consultant. He shares his strategies that empowered him through struggle, and he interviews others who overcame struggle and went on to success. And there have been 275 episodes. Boy, you could go probably for a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, absorbing all the media that Michael Santos has created, the Santos mythology. Why not? Why not? Let's hear from the voice of the master. Let's hear from Michael in his own words. But what about prison professors? That could be Michael's latest scheme. How to prepare for court, sentencing, or prison.
In my case, it was really nonviolent kids that really didn't understand what we were doing. But I was certainly, in law enforcement's eyes, a serious player. I got arrested on August the 11th with guns drawn at me. You're going down. And there were 3 DEA agents. They took me into custody, and that was the last day that I had of liberty for 9,500 days.
So if you thought that Belize funny business was interesting, well, Michael always has several irons in the fire, and one of those is prison professors. If you want to know how to prepare for court, sentencing, or prison with prison professors, contact us today at 949-206-6056 or visit our team at prisonprofessors.com. We specialize in developing mitigation strategies that can help you get the outcome you want. And there's a whole bunch of stuff of Michael on YouTube pitching this. And again, Michael is not a lawyer. He is not licensed to practice law. So I guess he could be a consultant. But given his track record of either hiring the worst lawyer imaginable for the highest price or repeatedly representing himself in court, this is not the guy that you want consulting if you are facing a prison sentence. I mean, it's madness.
One of the things that really inspires me is to work toward helping people who are in jail and prison understand how the decisions that they are making right now, today, are going to put them on a pathway to success.
Hello, it's Michael Santos here on Sunday. Since I'm not allowed to leave my home, I'm renting in place on the side of my house.
And so I can take this information inside of jails and prisons without even going in there personally, just producing these videos and help administrators, I hope, teach and inspire people who are living without hope, helping them see the real challenge is not to focus on where you are right now or the struggles in your life, but rather what you can become if you really develop stronger critical thinking skills, stronger communication skills, and just a real coherent plan.
It occurs to me that everything Michael does is the same exact thing. So prison professors, court, sentencing, or prison, we can help. Prisonprofessors.com. There's a podcast. There's YouTube. What do I need to know if I've become the target of a criminal investigation? Our answer to the first question is simple. A lot. Hey, there's a free book. If you're facing court, sentencing, or prison, get a free ebook to learn more about strategic steps you can take to begin preparing. Step 1, get a real lawyer. Step 2, do not go to this website. This is the work of a madman. And he's not giving good advice. It's bad advice. If only because you cannot trust this guy. So Michael Santos is a prison professor. Also at prisonprofessors.com are these professors. Ingrid Lederhaas-Oken. She received her undergraduate degree from Georgetown, followed by graduate studies at Christie's in London and the Gemological Institute of America that led to a successful career in jewelry and at luxury goods firms in New York City. In 2013, upon being made redundant at her firm, Ingrid made a life-altering mistake which led to a felony conviction and a prison sentence. And that is the most dishonest profile I have ever read. And these profiles on websites, the company profiles, Jim Johnsonville has a dog named Trixie and he enjoys kayaking. I mean, this is worse than the next and worse than even that sort of corporate crap. From the New York Post, ex-Tiffany VP, not being able to have kids led me to steal $2 million in jewelry. Disgraced Blue Box exec Ingrid Lederhaas-Oken coughed up the defense through her lawyer at her sentencing in Manhattan federal court on Monday. She stole more than $2.1 million in diamond-encrusted bling from a Tiffany and Company. So the greed and the avarice and the shallowness of this person, I mean, just to make a career, I'm going to make luxury jewelry for rich people, that alone should be criminal. And just what? So these are the kind of sleazes. Dog break? These are the kind of sleazes that are now your prison professors that are going to help you prepare in conjunction with your team of attorneys, we hope. Prison professor Joshua Boyer was convicted of felony possession and intent to distribute more than 5 kilos of cocaine. In 2001, President Obama commuted his sentence. Here's another class act from prisonprofessors.com. Lance Charon. Lance Charon served 10 months at the federal prison camp in Cumberland, Maryland. He entered prison intent on making the most of the time ahead of him. He lost more than 100 pounds and read more than 100 books, while also developing multiple business plans and reevaluating past choices. Prior to his sentence, he had built and run several successful businesses in the solid waste, recycling, and manufacturing spaces. He was named Entrepreneur of the Year by the Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. Okay, that's a great bio. Lance. Pennsylvania man sentenced for environmental crimes in Wilmington. He was the branch manager of an oil recycling facility called International Petroleum Corporation of America. It processed used oil and hydrocarbon-containing wastewater, and he was messing around with the samples, probably not helping the environment in doing so. And that would be Doomed Planet, the podcast, episode 28. Michael Santos, Seattle's cocaine cowboy. His future does not look good based upon this, at the very least, this Belize real estate scam. Anyway, drugs should be legal. He shouldn't have been locked away like that. Because even though he might be a little insane, our system is insane. Our society is insane. Our carceral state, our drug war, it is complete madness. Speaking of that, a friend of mine just had one of her friends die in prison of COVID. He was a drug offender, and no one should be sentenced to death, especially someone who is selling drugs. It's a victimless crime in most cases, and drugs should be legal. Felix Martinez, he's born March 5th, 1953, and he died on May 18th, 2020 of COVID. So, bailouts for billionaires and COVID for the rest of us, especially anyone locked away or someone suffering in an Amazon warehouse, a meatpacking facility, or working as a grocery cashier. Felix left his family in Havana on May 18th of 1980. He escaped Cuba because of wanting a chance of a better life in America without any English or skills, and he did his best. He's survived by a daughter and son in Seattle, his sister and brothers in Havana, and many friends and associates here in Tacoma and Seattle. Some nicknamed him the Godfather. Most of us knew him as Felito or Felix, a very generous gentleman, our brother. He was taken down by cardiac arrest after a brave battle with COVID-19. They sent him and 800 to that private prison for illegal aliens, as they called them. All Hispanic or Middle Eastern men directly into this prison that already had allegations of bad food and bad conditions. He said they got turkey sandwiches that smelled and tasted rancid. They got tiny pieces of soap. They were isolated in solitary when they got there because of the virus. They came from sunny California to a remote, freezing cold place without adequate blankets and clothing, without any money on their books to buy what they might need. I have some news articles that are all online. None of these men in the Bureau of Prisons have seen their family members since March. Plus, they don't say the men had the virus. Felix died because of cardiac arrest, but I talked to him on May 7th, and he sounded so bad I wrote to the prison to voice my concerns. He had already served 27 months. I'm going to write to the judge here and let him know he has blood on his hands. The Baldwin Correctional Institution is run by GEO. They are paying for all costs of his remains. There's lots of articles about this place, lots of other women talking about their loved ones trapped inside. Some of them getting a death sentence for their nonviolent drug crimes. Goodbye.
5, 6, 7, 8. Goodbye. This is the end of the song.